What is up, everybody? Now that the dust has settled a bit after Rampage and nerves have calmed, everything's kind of mellowed out. It was an absolute crazy year for Rampage. Just wanted to come on here and kind of talk through, my thoughts on my run and my experiences at Rampage. Second year for me, and it was a lot different than the first year. I learned a lot, and I, really felt like I excelled and was feeling good on the bike this year. It didn't end up the way that I wanted it to ultimately, but all in all, I think it was a good year, and I learned a lot from year one. So I just want to talk about a little bit of my run, a little bit of the features that I rode, and kind of talk through just my experience at Rampage. So that being said, let's get it. Yeah, so ultimately, this year I wanted to have fun at Rampage. First year, I feel like I bit off a little more than I could chew with my crazy shoot at the top, and it didn't really pay off. It didn't score very well. It was super gnarly. I didn't get to ride it because it was too gnarly, and it was super windy, and I was stressing it so hard. So yeah, this year I just mainly wanted to have fun, and that was my goal going into it. And going into scope day, we parked over on Rider's Left Ridge and walked up it and kind of instantly fell in love with it. Saw the Goblin feature, which is an iconic Rampage feature, and I fell in love. Yeah, I wanted to ride the Goblin. So if you hit the Goblin, you're kind of pigeonholed to that one rider's left side of the ridge, kind of sharing a lot of the top stuff, which was still pretty sick, pretty big mountain, and it gets you down to the Goblin. And then from the Goblin, I didn't want to ride Boggs's line because Bienve was going there, Hayden was going there, so I wanted to do my own thing, and that's where I found Storch's old drop that cuts off earlier, and shared that with Lemoyne, and then linked up with the trick jump with everyone down at the bottom. So ultimately I was really excited about that, and then built a new flat drop into Storch's big flat drop, which was a crazy build. It took way longer than we had thought, and basically shifted the whole mountain to make it work, and then it ended up being insanely tech, and it was still like 25 feet, so like pretty decent sized drop, and then insanely tech, no room for error, which I'll explain here in a minute why that's relevant, but yeah, no room to mess up there. So yeah, anyway, let's get into a bit of practice. So yeah, we ended up with that first drop taking a lot longer than we had thought. A lot of my line was already there in pretty good condition. So, come the first practice day, I had a lot of my line I could ride. I was doing laps from the bottom of the Goblin down to the trick jump and the finish corral first day of practice, second day of practice maybe. And that was huge because that was pretty much my line. The top part was the big mountain stuff, which is kind of straightforward, like it's gonna work, it's just scary. So it was really sick to get all of that linked up together, getting the speeds dialed. My line was very technical, and there was a lot of braking. There's a lot of braking everywhere, but the way I had to brake and know my braking points and whatnot seemed in a bit more tech than kind of what I had been used to. So it was good to get a lot of practice on that. And I was basically just lapping it early on, and that got me really stoked. And then ended up ticking off the features up at the top. The Goblin, the start drop, which can't really tell in the live stream, the start drop was insanely gnarly. But yeah, just practice was going good. I was feeling good, healthy, no crashes, nothing. So come finals day, I felt pretty dang ready, which is very, very, very sick. So yeah, anyway, moving into my run. let's break down my run a bit. So, run number 1, feeling good. Was stoked to drop in. Definitely not as nervous as last year because I felt so prepared, which was awesome. So, yeah, dropping into run 1, I hit the start drop, came into the Goblin, hit the super exposed section, and after hitting the super exposed section, hit the Goblin drop, ripping down the ridge. Actually, the first little drop after the Goblin I hadn't hit yet. It's pretty minor, but still one of those things where you're like, I really hope this works. So I hit the drop after the Goblin, and the skippers, hit that all clean. And then getting in to the tech stuff. My first flat drop. My plan was to spin the first drop, flip the second one. Second one was going to be pretty dang gnarly, a pretty big flat flip with a flat landing. So I kind of had that in my mind, as well. And the 3 drop on the drop above Storches is very technical. Like I said, no room for error. So I came in, super slow drop, very plumb. You had to basically be going 1 mile an hour off of it, it felt like. So I knew I had to go a little bit slower for a spin, and was coming into it, thought I was going a bit too fast, so I checked up one last time, popped the 3, and instantly knew it was going bad. Knew I went too slow by maybe literally the one little brake tap is what did it. I cased 3 inches of the knuckle maybe, and that was just enough for my rear wheel to kind of come off the ground, lose traction, high side, flip over the berm. That was pretty devastating, given I don't even know the last time I've messed up a 3 drop. I have that pretty locked in, but with the feature being so technical and so slow and plumb and just awkward and weird and no room for error, it just made it, super hard. And, welcome to competition and trying to progress, my skills and what I want to do on the mountain, crashes come with it. So, yeah, I ended up high-siding over my berm, over my little tech snaky section, hit all the rock that we had sloughed away. There's a ton of gravel from what we chipped off of the flat drop down there, and it's just like razor blades. I ended up like punching the ground with my fist and then cutting up all my fingertips, and you can even see in the live stream I have like blood on my kit and blood on my hands. It was pretty uncomfortable, and my fingertips like peeled off, so it really sucked. It didn't feel good, but ended up grabbing my bike and finishing my run. Just wanted to get to the bottom, and that's who I am. I don't want to sit there and sulk in my thoughts or be too bummed that I had crashed. I still wanted to get to the bottom, so got to the bottom. Medical cleaned me up and got me feeling good. Fingers cleaned up, blood wiped off, and kind of taped up the best I can to maybe do a second run, and then got back to the top. And as time kind of went on there, waiting for my second run, my hands started to feel pretty dang sore, and a wrist injury from the winter I had was starting to feel pretty sore as well. Hanging on to the bars, was a bit more difficult going into my second run. Felt good enough to jump around on my bike, but the second I would go to pull a manual on the flat ground, I'd get this pretty gnarly shooting pain through my hand and wrist, which wasn't good, which had me pretty stressed for run 2. Ultimately I'm debating on what I should do in my head, if I should even take a second run. I'd maybe
hit my head a bit too, but there's so much adrenaline and so much shock even from the first crash that like those thoughts kind of leave you. I was looking at the video and I was like, dang, I might have racked my head a bit too. But I was feeling good. I didn't feel concussed or anything. It's just one of those things. But yeah, jumping around, my hands just sore. Couldn't really pull back too hard. I could jump, but pulling back did not feel very good. So run two, waiting around. I was actually the rider to go after Silva on run two. So there was a big delay there, and medical was just doing the best they could to get him off the mountain safely and all that, which, that plays another thing into it too. You watch your buddies have an absolutely horrible crash, and it's hard mentally. I'm not even going to lie. That was a very hard decision to even keep riding after watching one of your good friends go down that hard. And yeah, that was a very heavy moment as well that kind of played into this. But, as time went on, everything kind of just caved in. My hand wasn't feeling good. The crashes kind of weighed heavy on me. So I made the decision on run two to just kind of do a lap for the fans. I didn't feel comfortable with my hand and wrist situation, pulling back on a big flat flip or spinning another three. So I just wanted to get a run down top to bottom, and kind of just chop this Rampage up as, I'm relatively healthy for the most part, and I'll be back. I've got big plans if we ever decide to have a new venue, and I just hungry for more, that's for sure. But there comes a time when you have to make a decision, and that decision might not be the easiest because your pride, your ego is telling you to, do that thing. You've worked so hard for it, but ultimately I want to stay healthy. I want to stay riding, and that was the decision I had made. And, I don't even want to say I regret it, but there are those thoughts that go into my mind like, man, maybe I should have pulled that flat flip. Maybe I should have spun the three up there for my second run. But, ultimately at the end of the day, I wasn't feeling 100%. And if I'm not feeling 100%, I feel like I can't give it my all and perform, at my highest. So, just looking back on it now, I do think I made the smart decision of longevity. I want to be in the sport for a while, and who knows what happened if I went to pull a flat flip and my hand couldn't hang on because it was shooting pain through it, whatever had happened, slight sprain on that first crash. So, I'm just looking forward to the next one and looking forward to Rampage 2026. Hopefully we get a new venue. Yeah, I just hungry for it. So that's kind of the breakdown of my Rampage experience. And, I hope you got a little insight on what was going through my head on run one, run two, and all that. So, yeah, thanks for watching and tuning in. Peace.